Hello, this is Tanya and Amelia from Coffee Ketchup's podcast, and you are listening to Coffee Ketchup's Espresso on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. And today we are talking about confidence. And I immediately wanted to start singing Sound of Music.
Do you know what? As soon as you said confidence, my head went,
I have confidence
in sunshine.
I'm glad I cut out singing then because I was about to go, I have confidence in confidence alone. What does that mean?
I have confidence in me.
Yeah. Oh.
What a song. What a song.
What a film.
Do you know what? Actually, it's an underrated song within that film, I think.
Well, yes, I suppose so. But also, there are some absolute classics in that film.
There are. This is not me like hating on any of the other songs because they are all very good.
Also, do you remember that time when you came to my house and you, me and my brother?
My goodness.
We did our own ridiculous rendition.
That was genuinely one of the funniest nights of my life.
We did a rendition of So Long Farewell.
Yeah, we did.
That I've still got somewhere, and if you ever get married, I will be bringing it out.
Yes, please. Although the funniest part was Sam doing Gretel's bit at the end, which was the look on his face was brilliant. Anyway, we're talking about confidence, which I think if we want to build our confidence, maybe we should play that video to each other and
absolutely, or to curb our confidence, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. It depends what we feel we need.
Amelia, are you a confident person? Would you say?
I would say I'm more of a confident person than I used to be.
Okay.
My self-esteem when I was a teenager, as it is for a lot of people, I guess, like was pretty low. But I have grown in confidence and in sort of like who I am in myself and how I sort of present myself has been more confident. So yeah, but I wouldn't say I'm like the most confident person. There are certain things that I definitely would say that I'm still I still think about other people's opinions potentially more than I should sometimes. Not as much as I used to, but more than I should. Yeah,
I'd say you come across as quite a confident person. Yeah, for sure. There have been many moments in knowing you that I thought, oh, she's a bit nervous or not feeling as confident.
Yeah, but there's definitely a fair bit of anxiety under the surface.
Yeah, but I think we mask confidence a lot.
We do.
I know I do. Like I describe myself as a confident person largely because I can pretend to be confident at any given moment.
That's fair.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that I am. So I think vulnerable situations, I can often come across really confident. Underneath, I am not. And one of the interesting moments for this in my life was quite early on. I was a teenager, young adult. My first job was I worked at a riding stables, Chowell riding stables on the edge of Dartmoor. It's really good. I actually do recommend if you want to learn to ride or you enjoy riding and want a lesson there, little free plug for them. However, like it was my first job, and you're taking people onto the moor, and of course with horse riding, although this doesn't happen very often, but sometimes people fall off and injure themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And there would be times when that would happen. And you, as the 19-year-old in charge, who of course is very capable as a rider, is then having to deal with this person who's fallen off, and inside you're going, oh my goodness, please be okay, please not have broken anything, please be conscious, please, like as you're getting off your horse and going to see if they're okay. But on the outside, you are confident, you are calm, you are everything. And so I think a lot of the time, certainly in my life, that's just one example, but in my life, I appear confident to the outside world, and in reality, underneath it, I'm not. Auditions, for example, I'm so arrogant and cocky in auditions. I come and I'm like, hey, it's great to be here. But in reality, I'm like, for some auditions especially, I'm really nervous.
Sure. I don't think I'd be able to do your job because I think I would be so nervous all the time. I mean, obviously, like we're very different people, and you have obviously a huge talent for what you do. But I know what you mean. There's something about putting yourself out there and making yourself vulnerable, and then still having to kind of like act confident that makes me very nervous.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the acting confident can sort of make you more confident because
Agreed.
You put that mask on and you're like, you sort of have to like, fulfill that. I guess if we're putting it in terms of acting, like it's almost like method acting, I would assume, because you kind of just like, I'm going to get into this mindset of a confident person, even though that's not how I feel right now.
And it just came to mind when you were speaking, when there's like spy dramas or films or stuff, the spies always just walk somewhere like they belong there.
Yes.
And they fit in and no one notices.
Yeah, so true.
And there's a thing with that, isn't there, with confidence. If I just look like I belong, and underneath you've got like major imposter syndrome, but you're like outside, you're like, I'm gonna try and be confident. But then also you have the things that you really are confident in, like particularly area of expertise. If you've got a lot of knowledge or experience, there's confidence, and it can be really infuriating when somebody doubts your ability in an area that actually I'm confident. I know I'm good.
Yeah.
I know I'm good at this. I had this last year with a contract where someone was telling me that I wasn't a good singer, and I was like, what? Like,
that's so rude.
Factually incorrect.
It is also, I can confirm.
And it was just that thing of being like, but interestingly, as they kept saying it, I went, oh, maybe I'm not. But I knew I was.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm not. So it's interesting how much of our confidence, if someone chipped away at it, could go. And I think that's what we see a lot in life, is just a pressure point. If someone keeps pushing it, we start to lose a bit of our confidence. And we are going to talk more about that. But I'm going to listen to some music, and it's not going to be sound of music, alas.
And it's not going to be us singing, unfortunately.
You'll be pleased to hear. Welcome back. You're listening to Coffee Ketchup's Espresso with Tanya and Amelia, and we are talking about confidence.
We are.
We were just talking about when we feel confident, and also when we pretend that we're confident.
Yeah.
Sort of mask ourselves into being confident. And just before we had a little break, I was talking about things that chip away at your confidence and how solid is your confidence. Amelia, and this is a bit of a personal question, but have you found that there have been times in your life where things have chipped away at your confidence, or that you've realised, oh, actually, I thought I was really confident here, but maybe I'm not?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's something that I guess we all struggle with at various times. I think I really struggle when I know, kind of like we were talking about earlier, like I know that I'm capable of something or that I know something, and someone else makes it really obvious that they don't believe that. I find it really hard, particularly in terms of work. Like if you've got a manager that is that doesn't believe that you can do the role, or if there are things that they say that imply that, or they kind of say, oh well, you need someone to help you with that, and I'm like, actually I do know what I'm doing in this case, but you have to find a way of sort of saying that matches up with the professional environment, and that actually is really difficult. And then they sort of end up thinking that you can't do it, because I often find I don't know that I always find the words to come back at that. And I think that's the situation, is if they're not confident in my ability for something, I feel less confident in that. And if I can't then explain myself, which sometimes I just can't, that slowly just chips away at it. I find that really, really hard.
No, me too.
And also if there is something that I feel that I should be confident in, and then I make a mistake, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I was, or like, oh actually maybe I didn't know this topic as much as I thought I did, and all of that. I find that really difficult. Yeah.
That is really difficult. I love what you were saying though, when you were talking about things that chip away at confidence. It's interesting how much it's other people, isn't it?
So true. So true.
You know, you said when you make a mistake, but also I think the words people say over you are hugely important. I think you see this in the development of children, which is huge. It's like, what words do you say over a person in a workplace environment? When you work for a good boss who's encouraging, it makes a world of difference. Whereas when you work for someone who just constantly picks at you, and it's going to have an effect on your confidence. People can both build you up and pull you down. Isn't it interesting that when you were speaking, and then I was thinking about so many times in my life where somebody who has slight authority over me, or even not just anyone, has picked and said something with their words that has shattered my confidence, even if they don't realise that they did that.
Yeah, so true.
And it also brought to mind when in my line of work, when you're in the rehearsal room, I was having a conversation with a director the other day, a few weeks ago, who I really respect as a director. I think they're really intuitive at knowing how to work with the actors to get the best of them. Because being on stage is a really vulnerable thing, and you need to get the best of your performers. And so some directors will bash you around until they think it's the right thing to do, to bash you into the right position, and there you give the best performance. But the best directors know when to say, oh, I don't like that, and when to encourage. And they know when to do it. And I spoke with this director, and she said, I'd rather that somebody finds it themselves whilst being confident than does exactly what I want whilst not being confident.
Yeah.
And I thought that's so mature. And also just the power of the director's vision in that moment, the words that person said. And I think we can all probably think of times where somebody said something and it's really cut us down. But also, on a more positive note, you know, when somebody says something to you and it's like a compliment or something, and suddenly you're like, oh, I feel way more confident in this.
Yeah,
Can you think
absolutely.
of any examples for it in your life?
Oh, I think, do you know what? Like, just talking to you sometimes, actually, because we're quite good at like affirming each other, right? But I think one of the things that I noticed really early on in our friendship was that you were really good at like picking out certain aspects of my personality that I hadn't necessarily like thought about before on like a certain level. So I remember you saying to me, and this is not me blowing my own trumpet, but like I remember you saying to me like, oh my gosh, you're really emotionally intelligent. And I had never really thought about emotional intelligence as a thing before. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, I guess I do have quite a good understanding of emotions and that kind of thing. And, you know, it's something that I've learned to notice about myself and question about myself. Like, am I being emotionally intelligent in this situation? Or like, not quite so cut and dry as that, but you know what I mean? And it's kind of like when you have people around you who can notice things about you and pick things up and just like you say, it's like not even necessarily knowing the power of your words sometimes, like, oh, that's really good, I really like that about you. Or sometimes as well, like challenging you really well, because again, that's something that we do for each other, is we try and like challenge each other. And sometimes, you know, when confidence has gone too far and we're being prideful, Tanya's been really good at saying to me like, actually, like, that's really prideful. There was a point where I can't remember what it was I said, but I was like chatting away and I was like, oh, and I know that's a really prideful thing. And you said so beautifully, you were like, I'm really glad you said that because I was about to say the same thing.
I remember that conversation.
And it was like, but it's the way you do it as well. I think when you show that your intentions are good and like that you want to build somebody up in your feedback, but you are being honest with them, that builds my confidence as well, because I then have more confidence in our friendship and also like in my sort of own journey of growth, I guess, as well.
Well, I think confidence can be contagious.
Yeah.
When you're around confident people who are also affirming I think it can be really contagious. And I think that's a really encouraging thing to do in our own lives, is actually you can encourage other people, but also in being confident in yourself, like, you can really, it can catch with other people.
Yeah.
I worked last year with one of a really good friends of mine over the summer, and I was feeling quite low. I'd had a tough year, and he would just say things over himself, over other people, who'd be really complimentary, and it can read as arrogance if you don't know him.
Sure.
Like, it can come, he'd be like, oh, I'm just such a talented actor, I did that scene really well. And don't get me wrong, I know he's thinking, what can I do better, and I'm not good at this and that. But he made the intention to say it so that not only he would start to believe it more, but also that other people would. And he's also the first person to compliment someone else. That was great.
Yeah, that's really great.
You know, I would rather be that person and risk sounding arrogant and be confident than be too self-deprecating to the point where I actually curse myself with my own words and other people. And so actually I find that as quite a nice challenge, and ultimately you can check in with yourself. Am I being arrogant here?
Yeah.
Or am I being confident? And that's ultimately it.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to come back a little bit after we listen to the music and talk more about confidence. Bye-bye. Welcome back. You're listening to Tanya and Amelia, and this is Coffee Catch-Up's Espresso. We are talking about confidence. What makes you confident? What makes you confident? I'm not having a good day with words. Right, I'll do this again. Welcome back. You're listening to Tanya and Amelia, and this is Coffee Catch-Up's Espresso on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. We are talking about confidence, all the things that make you feel confident and some of the things that chip away at your confidence. Amelia.
Hello.
Got a question. Give us a top tip for helping to make us feel more confident.
Okay, so I cannot take credit for this idea.
Okay.
It's something I have seen on Instagram, but I absolutely love it. And I would love to be able to do this. And I think I might start trying is rejection therapy. Going into situations and asking for things you know you're not going to get, but doing it anyway and taking the rejection and moving on. It's a crazy concept, but there's this girl on Instagram that does it. I can't remember her name.
Like what kind of things does she do?
So, for example, she went into the train station. She had a train booked, and she asked for a free upgrade to first class. And she knew they would say no. There was literally, she wasn't even offering to pay for it or anything. But she went in, she filmed herself, she did it, and just went, I'd really like a free upgrade to first class. And they were like, well, it costs this much. And she's like, no, but can I have it for free? And they were like, no. Obviously, they were like, no. But she came out of it and was like, yeah, that was rejection therapy. And she does this thing on purpose. And I actually think it's such a great thing to do because it builds that like resilience. And things like, she like just went, I think she's been up to someone on the street and been like, hey, would you like to go on a date right now?
Nice.
Or like, can you buy me a coffee? Like just to a random stranger.
I love that. It's kind of like the one I was going to do.
Is it?
But mine was pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
great.
a similar thing.
Yeah.
Of going, actually, what gives you confidence is when you're in a position where you really aren't comfortable or confident. Because I think at the other side of confidence can often be fear.
Yes, so true.
Like, I think the vulnerability of her going up to somebody and asking for a date is I'm scared of what they'll reject me. You know, I'm scared of it looking a fool asking for first class. So at the other side of it is fear. So if you're pushing yourself into a place where you're like, oh, I'm not normally here, I'm out of my comfort zone, I think that's where growth happens. I think you can feel confident in it. And then another huge one for me, we've spoken about it loads already over the course of this episode, is words.
Yeah.
And they're really powerful.
They really are. Yeah.
They really are. And I remember getting a friend of mine, good friend, she was struggling with, after a breakup, with feeling like valued and loved.
Yeah.
And she just saw all of the things in her life where people had shown her she wasn't lovable. And I was like, oh, hard relate to that. Relate to that. But I said, go into the mirror, into the bathroom, look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are lovable, that you have worth and you have value. Yeah. And even me saying that to her, she just started crying. She's like, I don't think I can do that. And I was like, well, let's do it now then. Yeah. And she said she was doing it. It was really helping. So there's something weird about when you train your brain to hear that, to hear something uncomfortable but true.
Sorry, the thing that came to mind then was that scene in Cool Runnings where they're stood in front of the mirror and Yule's like telling Junior, he's like, I see pride, I see power.
I've not seen that.
Have you not?
No, never.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Like, we have to watch it. It's such a good film. But like, no, that kind of thing I think is so good. Because it's like, it feels silly to do that, to stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself.
But who's watching?
Exactly, who's watching? And it does build so much confidence. I really love that. Yeah. And I think the pushing yourself out of your comfort zone thing, totally. Like, I really, you know, as I've said on this, I like walks, I quite like hikes, but if it gets like physically challenging, I'm like, that's where I start to be like, oh gosh, like I'm going to look really stupid if this goes wrong. And I remember we were doing whitewater rafting, right? This is when I was in Latin America. And the guy told us to jump out of the boat. And I was like, are you insane? Like, I'm already whitewater rafting. This is already out of my comfort zone. I don't think so. But I did it because he told me to. And I just remember thinking, I was like, you know, having jumped out of the boat, floating down the river, and I was like, Lord, if this is the way I go out, it's been fun, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that.
And then, you know, the embarrassing part was then I couldn't physically pull myself up into the boat, and so I had to be hoisted by my life jacket, which was quite embarrassing. But I did it. and like I can say I've done it. I wouldn't necessarily do it again.
Yeah.
But I've ticked it off the bucket list.
Interestingly, you reminded me though of when I first did stand-up comedy.
Oh,
which we had to do.
I love that you've done that, you know.
Yeah, I did my first stand-up comedy was part of my degree in comedy class. They made us
brilliant.
in our final year of study. We had to go into open mic night and do a stand-up comedy routine.
Yeah.
I have never been so nervous to perform in my life. I was sweating and I thought I could not do this. I did it and I smashed it. Like, people laughed, and my biggest fear was that nobody would laugh, but I got lots of laughs. And then when I did it later on in my career, a few times, I got better and better each time, and more confident each time. The more you practice something, the more confident you get at something. So actually, in all of this stuff, when it comes to whether it's a skill or whether it's a mindset, actually practicing the stuff. And I think that's what we were saying when I'm saying go into the bathroom, look in the mirror and say this until you believe it, because you've got to practice it. And yes, you may also be pretending to be confident, but pretend until it's real, you know?
Yes.
So get out there, be confident.
Yeah.
Strut your stuff.
Love it.
Flick your hair sassily, even if you've not got any.
Yeah. It's like, have you seen Wicked when she's like, toss, toss, with her hair? It's great. It's great. I love it. Do the toss, toss. You'll be instantly confident.
Absolutely. Great life advice there.
Yes.
Right, we're going to listen to some music and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk snacks. It is Snack Chat.
Whoop, whoop.
Welcome back. You're listening to Coffee Ketchup's Espresso with Tanya and Amelia on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. And this is the section of our show, the serious section. It's Snack Chat. Yes, we are talking all things snacks.
It's back.
It is back. It's a very serious topic. And Amelia, I would like you to tell me what ice cream flavours have gone too far.
Well, I mean, the one that immediately came to mind, and don't get me wrong, I do quite enjoy this ice cream flavour, but I think it's been put with too many things.
Okay.
Salted caramel. See, I like salted caramel. I think it's lovely, but I can't remember where I was the other day, but I saw salted caramel with rhubarb.
What? Hang on.
Right?
As in a flavour?
Yes.
Of
one flavour of ice cream.
Oh, no, that is too far.
Exactly. You see what I mean?
That is no rhubarb and custard anymore. That is rhubarb getting ahead of itself.
It is. But also, I mean, why do we think we can put salted caramel with just absolutely anything? I don't quite understand it. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I like it and it's nice as a self-contained thing, but putting it with everything else, like, for example, rhubarb, and because my mum had it and I was like, and I tried it and I was like, do you know what? No, I couldn't get behind it. It was weird. It was just weird.
No, I agree with you. Combined with rhubarb is an odd choice. It is a very odd choice. But salted caramel in and of itself is one of the best flavours. Haagen-Dazs salted up. Oh, yes, please. Yes,
absolutely.
Please. Runny bits of caramelly.
Stop it.
Yes,
Stop it.
Please.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Salted caramel and rhubarb. Unacceptable.
Absolutely unacceptable.
Get a grip.
What is yours?
Mine is also a combination flavour, which is where it's gone too far. Largely because one of the flavours I don't like anyway. But bubble gum and cookie dough.
Oh, together?
Together.
Oh, no.
No, it wasn't great.
No.
It was just far too much. I think, firstly, I think bubblegum flavour is a lie. It's a lie. What? Like, bubblegum isn't a flavour.
Is it just fake news?
It's fake news. Let's trump this out here. Like, it is absolute fake news.
Oh my gosh.
Bubblegum is a thing that you chew. It isn't a flavour. No, it isn't a flavour.
It is a flavour,
No, because you have like mint bubblegum, or you have bubblegum that is flavoured of other things.
Mint bubblegum, for a start, no.
Yeah, you do.
But, really?
Like, it's like chewing gum. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's not, like, but you don't blow bubbles with it.
You can blow bubbles with chewing gum.
But, like...
I've tried. My teenage years, my misspent youth.
But, like, bubblegum itself is a flavour.
Yeah, because they've marketed it as such, but it's not a natural flavour.
No, I'm not saying it's natural. It's quite clearly, like, man-made, but, like...
But what does bubblegum taste of?
Bubblegum?
Do you know what I mean? Like, what does it taste of?
It is a flavour. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to like describe it just is.
It's just sweet and weird. What is the flavour? There are several things I want to know what their
Bubblegum,
flavour
sweet
of.
and weird.
What
But,
is
like,
the flavour of a pink wafer?
Strawberry, surely.
No, it isn't. It isn't. I looked at the pack. It's vanilla.
Is it?
Yep.
No.
That's what they said. Yeah, vanilla flavouring is the only type of flavourings in pink wafer. I hypothesise that a pink wafer flavour is actually just pink. The flavour of pink.
Oh my goodness.
Candy floss. What is the flavour of candy floss?
Sugar.
That's
But like there are lots of different flavours though that you can get put into it.
yeah.
I was at a wedding
it's
once.
the
They
same
had,
principle as the bubblegum issue.
in fairness, I was at a wedding once. They had champagne flavoured candy floss. That was really nice. But it's nice. Don't
That's
look at me
gone.
like
No,
that.
that has gone too far for me. Too
It was
far.
okay. Don't knock it till you've tried it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just gonna go back to thinking about proper ice creams, traditional ice creams, honeycomb.
I love
Yum.
that you're like using this to try and calm yourself down. I'm just gonna think about ice cream for a minute
Mint
and calm
chocolate chips.
myself down. Oh yeah, mint
Gorge.
chocolate chip is gorgeous.
And salted caramel. Don't start.
It's good. It's good by itself. Great. I'm just not advocating putting it with anything else. To
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I feel like we've been on a journey. in this
we
episode.
have. It's true.
Let us know your thoughts on if bubblegum is a flavour or not. I'm interested because I might be wrong. There was halfway through that.
Answer: it is, but like
Okay, well, this has been lovely. It's been fun. Thank you so much for tuning in to Coffee Catch-Up's Espresso. Catch us next week at the same time on Cross Rhythms Plymouth.
Bye bye.